Yes, and as you say, it's not a new idea. He's been talking about this for years, the onion, as I call it, the European onion, where there's lots of different layers. So that's not new. I do think we have to have a grown-up conversation about the future of our relationship with not just France, but with actually all our EU partners. And I would suggest that perhaps it's better if it didn't come from Mr. Macron and from France, but it came from some of our allies, perhaps, the Swedes, or we have what in Europe what's called a rotating presidency. So in July, the Czechs are taking the presidency. In January, it'll be the Swedes. So perhaps they're the ones who could broker this. And I think it would be honest brokers rather than France.
I was listening to what Gina Miller said there a moment ago and say, well, we did have that honest grown-up conversation. We had it for quite a long time about our relationship with Brussels, and we got a fairly emphatic answer in the end.
Gina's just mentioned onions. Onions make you cry, Colin. And I have to say, this proposal made me cry, because we've just had so much pain and grief trying to leave one European community. The idea of joining another one shortly afterwards, frankly, thanks but no thanks. As Mrs. Thatcher said, no, no, no. It feels to me that it's just another level of bureaucracy, dumbing down our ability to compete. And what troubled me in particular was the language he used. He said that he would generously, possibly somewhat arrogantly, allow European countries that shared the EU's core values to cooperate on energy and transport and infrastructure and movement of people. Well, one of the reasons we left was actually we want to control our own movement of people. So, I thought actually this was rather troubling. Jean is quite right. Given what Macron's previously said, the last thing this proposal should come is from him. But look, we want to compete. We want to outperform. We don't want to be dumbed down. And so, no, I think thanks but no thanks would be my response.
Yeah. Gina Miller, Richard Tice mentions Margaret Thatcher there. Margaret Thatcher, if memory serves, was attached to the idea that the European Union project, it should be wider, not deeper. In other words, expand, take in those accession countries of Eastern Europe as we did, but don't grow any deeper, because that spreads the peace and prosperity and security far and wide. Is that principle not undermined by the idea of a two-speed Europe? Because if you are sitting in Warsaw or in Hungary today and you listen to this speech, you think, where do we fit into it?
I think I'm always intrigued by people going to the past, to Mrs. Thatcher, or what might have been said by Churchill. We are living today and the future that we're facing. We have got rather huge issues coming down the track. We can see with climate, not just climate change, but just look at what's happened with threats to our security in Ukraine. And, you've got President Zelensky saying that he wants us to show that we are united. He wants us, in his speech he said last week, to prove that indeed we are Europeans and that life will be brighter and we'll win over death and win over the darkness when we act as one Europe. So, we are in a different place, but I think we have to talk about how do we damage, limitate, because we have left, because there is damage. And, we have seen it in even Mr. Rees-Mogg saying that from July the 1st, there won't be checks because checks and full leaving would actually damage us, be an act of harm, which I think is quite ironic coming from him. But, the thing is, we have to look at how do we move forwards for the threats that are coming down the track that are much bigger than us as individual countries. Okay. It's about peace, prosperity, and the planet.
We're almost out of time. Richard Tice, do you think we should be taking up that kind invitation from Mr. Macron to join a new type of pan-European organisation?
No, I don't want to join another political community, but I think Gina's right. There are serious security issues that, tragically, we've all had a massive wake-up call. But I think the existing security defensive alliance of NATO should be enhanced and properly funded by everybody, including the likes of Germany and others, so that it can carry out that role much more successfully. That's where I would be focusing on to ensure that peace that we all want.
Richard Tice, Gina Miller, thanks both very much indeed for your time. Thanks a lot.